Hi, welcome to today's Leaders in Mental Wellness and Diabetes, where you will hear insights from the top minds in the world of diabetes care. Hosted by Dr. Char.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I have with me today John Wilcox. He is a co-founder and CEO of Diatech Diabetes, where patient-focused technology is paramount. I mean, I get tongue-tied with even the word technology. John is a fellow type 1er, and he's from Memphis, Tennessee. Welcome, John. Welcome to this podcast.
Thank you so much. I am very excited to be talking to you today.
Well, it's already a joy to meet you. And I want you to tell us a little bit about your personal journey with type 1 diabetes. And I read somewhere that happened on your 9th birthday.
Yes, that's right. I was on at a birthday party for myself, and it was just so surreal being taken to the hospital and figuring out that one of my birthday presents was type 1 diabetes.
Oh my.
I was able to receive amazing care and quickly learn what my new life would be, but it definitely was a challenge and kind of shaped my perspective for what I wanted to do with my life after. So going into college, going into starting my undergraduate program at Florida State University, where I went to school for my bachelor's.
Well, I was in Florida. Let me interrupt just a minute, because when
Sure.
that name comes across the screen, I have to say go Gators, because
Oh, no.
I was outside the swamp for almost 20 years. So, okay, now you can go.
That burdens my heart now. That's, we can both agree that we are not Miami fans then, I guess.
Right.
No shout out to Miami though. But anyway, yeah, I really developed a passion following my diagnosis for working within the diabetes field. And going into college, I was afforded the opportunity to work with some really amazing diabetes research projects that ultimately put me on the path to helping start Diatech. And through that was kind of my entry point into the diabetes industry. And I've been working with this company since, and we're a medical device company that's focused in on improving automatic insulin delivery systems for people with diabetes and just improving the overall artificial pancreas experience with new software products. So our company's novel, but again, we all have a personal connection to diabetes and are really excited about the technology that we've been developing and are moving into 2022 with some exciting studies. So looking forward to talking more about that.
That is awesome. Now you have to understand that I am also type 1, almost 49 years now. And so when you say technology, and I jokingly say, I can hardly pronounce the word, are you kidding me? I peed on a stick. We didn't have a pump. When you were diagnosed, did you already have a pump? Did they have pumps?
Yes, I started off using an Omnipod. So thankfully I had access to that, but I can't imagine starting off my diabetes with, less technology than that. So that's a testament, I think, to you and to all the people that have had to grow up with diabetes, since then. So it's amazing. I always hear those stories and I just think about, wow, how different would my care be if I used that type of technology?
Well, the difference though, it would be easy to be snooty as an older patient with diabetes who went through the hard days of that and say, oh, these younger whippersnappers, they don't know what it's like to not have a monitor to tell you in the middle of the night what your blood sugar is, because my son and husband wake me up and irritate the stew out of me if they hear my Dexcom go off. And so I can't have a low and it do too much damage with them so nearby. So for all that, I'm grateful, but it would be easy for we older patients dealing with it to say, you don't know what it's like. But let me tell you what I've learned. We don't know what it's like to be in a world diagnosed where high fructose corn syrup is just in everything. There's just things that you've navigated that we already dealt with. We already kind of understood. I don't know. I could talk about that all day too, about what we were taught to eat that today we know didn't help us. But my point is, there was difference in our daily activities. There was a world. I mean, I couldn't do a podcast then and talk to a patient. I certainly couldn't do therapy online. And now, well, COVID fixed all that for us, because now we do it all the time and there's no going back. And of course, there's all the rules and regulations have all been covered. The HIPAA laws have all been taken care of. So we've come a long distance in so many ways in the world that I deal with. But in the diabetes world, the information is so much that for you with technology to navigate that is not as hard as it is for me, I'm guessing, because I jokingly say I can't spell technology. But the truth is, it's overwhelming, the amount of information out there. So how does Diatech, is it just getting the technology to the patient through the practitioners and the endocrinologist and that way, in that way, or do you offer programs that help understand what is it that Diatech Diabetes does?
Yeah. So to clarify really our mission, as I mentioned earlier, we are developing products to help people with diabetes and improve their quality of life, and not just them, but their caregivers as well as their communities. For our first product that we've been working on over the last several years, we're developing out an algorithm to improve infusion set failure detection for insulin pumps. And so infusion set failure can come in the form of leakages, blockages, dislodgement of the infusion set from the body, and really to not the patient's fault. This can just occur from everyday wearing.
Heck yeah. And you have to go do it again. You have to put another one in and send that back. And it's a big issue. So you guys are working on that.
So our technology is called Smart Fusion. And the way that Smart Fusion works is it looks at different data streams within the insulin pump system, the continuous glucose monitor, to better help diagnose and hopefully predict whether or not an infusion set failure is going to occur. And we really see that this is going to be a very beneficial piece of technology, not just for current insulin pumps and current infusion sets, but for 7-day wear infusion sets that are emerging, that are being worn for twice as long, as well as the AID systems that are becoming increasingly automatic and hands-free. So we really want to improve an insulin pump's monitoring for this, and provide alerts as well as reviewable data on whether or not these infusion failures are impacting blood glucose control. And we really see that this is an important piece of technology, of course, for the experienced person with diabetes who's had it for 40 plus years, but really also for people who are newly diagnosed that are using pumps that may not necessarily know what will be happening with their technology when they're first utilizing it, as well as children who use pumps and elderly. So Smart Fusion exists as a algorithm, a software platform that would be licensed by an insulin pump manufacturer and then implemented into their automatic insulin delivery system. We necessarily don't sell to patients. We are developing it out to be used in the pumps that you would be using.
Gotcha.
And it's been really incredible. We are 4-person team, all recently graduating from undergrad back in 2018. And our, growth as a company has been very, very fast over the last 6 months, really. Unfortunately, we kind of got things started during the pandemic, but, what has been so incredible now is, we just received a $300,000 SBIR Phase 1 grant from the National Institutes of Health.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We're very excited about that. And having the NIH supporting us with that very large grant for us to continue on with the preclinical development of Smart Fusion, showcase its efficacy with insulin pumps on the market. Our goal is to make insulin pumps safer and more through this type of technology. So we're very excited and really see 2022 as an opportunity to improve infusion monitoring for pumps.
That is awesome. I don't know if I should admit this on a podcast, but I literally have stopped using for now. My endocrinologist would cheer me on any day of the week if I'd go back to it. And the reason I have stopped using it is, again, I'm old school, so I can take the shots and I can monitor it and I can measure it, but I had lost some weight. And because of all the adjustments that brought in my body, then I was having difficulty with all the adjustments with the pump. And there was much learning for me in that again. And rather than keep that journey up until I knew, it was easier for this old girl to just start sliding scales again. So are you telling me that what Smart Fusion is going to do is going to empower, maybe that's not the right word, but it's going to empower the pump company to make it easier for me, for it to work smoother for me, so that I can stay on a pump without so much knowledge myself, that the Smart Fusion will help them know that some of the answers?
Yeah, so our goal with the technology is really to educate people with diabetes more about how to use their infusion sets more correctly and to avoid hyperglycemia that may happen because of an improper insertion or a failure that might occur with the pump. But we have seen a lot of interest to develop out more of a holistic educational system to help people, again, who are new to insulin pumps, who might be younger, who might be older, to learn how best to use their pump systems outside of the already existing training that comes from companies. So there is some interest on that, but primarily our technology is just focused in on making a person with diabetes more aware on whether or not their pump is actually infusing their medication properly.
Okay, so you would be educating the patient, but you're doing that through the pump company.
That would be correct with our software. But as I mentioned, there are other components of our technology that we're developing that a patient could use just by themselves. And that includes an app as well as a dashboard similar to Gluco or the EHR-based blood glucose review systems that you see in the clinic, but specified for infusion monitoring. So I think that for us, it's a combination of working with insulin pump companies and people with diabetes to improve the knowledge of how to use insulin pumps, again, safely and more effectively.
That is so awesome, especially for a newly diagnosed patient who all of this equipment feels so overwhelming. And it's so much, if there really are 200 opportunities to put food in your mouth every day, and we have to monitor that, we might do a good job today, we might not, but we have 200 opportunities, and then we have 500 voices sometimes telling us how we should do it.
Yes.
But if that's the case, and then every number counts, even though we try our very best to not live totally by all of that, not let it be overwhelming, the easier, the more educated, the more quality we can get within those learning systems, the better. Not just for, I think for me, because I don't understand technology like someone 20, but for the newly diagnosed, especially if they're 40, whether it's type 1 or type 2, there are type 2s, I think, that are on pumps. I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah.
But if they are on a pump, they need to know it as well. The newly diagnosed is probably your primary target. Yes.
One of them. Yes. We see that as a very, very important group to focus in on this technology, because again, when a person with diabetes that uses an insulin pump experiences an infusion failure that prevents their insulin from being subcutaneously administered, they might not know that it is the reason for why their blood glucose is high is because of infusion failure. They have all of these confounding factors that might lead to them thinking, oh, this is why my blood glucose is high. And there's, a published 42 reasons of what affects your blood glucose by, I think, Diatribe, but they put that out. And it's just amazing to see, caffeine, menstrual cycle, stress, exercise, food affects blood glucose, as well as infusion failures. And so we're hoping to knock out one of those things and make people more aware on whether or not their medication is actually going in their body. And if it's not, to quickly act, change out their infusion sets, and learn of ways to avoid infusion failure altogether following those issues.
That is, and sad to say, I've never heard of that until now with you. So thank you for getting on here and sharing that with me. But how did a young man who grew up with the diabetes, we wouldn't blame you if you didn't want to talk about it after having to live with it day in and day out. We wouldn't blame you. We wouldn't wonder why. But for you to have the wherewithal to not only help yourself, but see the need and start on a focused area to help everybody else in this community. Where'd you get that kind of heart?
Yeah, I think that it can be very easy to, see diabetes as a debilitating condition. It's a very serious condition that impacts our lives every day, every minute, every second, right? And so
yes.
I think I didn't have a very a kind of coming to light moment where I realized diabetes, I'm okay with that. But I think it evolved over the years of having it. For the first couple of years of knowing that, wow, I can choose to make this something that I'm going to mourn for the rest of my life because it's not going to go away, or I can choose to embrace it and truly utilize it as a tool almost to influence my empathy with others who have diabetes or other chronic illnesses for whatever way I can connect with them, or even shape my own personal empathy of understanding problems that I want to solve within the diabetes community, whether it be through technology or advocacy. So, making that choice through that kind of like evolution of thought, right, was something that happened. And I'm very grateful that I chose, the latter, right, rather than, just kind of wallowing, because it's not going to go away, and hopefully we'll see the day when it does. And there's been a lot of exciting things that have come out regarding, the recent beta cell implantation and preventative vaccines. But yeah, until that day, we have to make that choice on whether or not we want to be debilitated by it or empowered by it. So I really was intentional in trying to make sure that I could use it as a tool instead of it like using me. So
that is amazing. And I guess you're not surprised to know that my world turned to counseling psychology. And as a specialist in that field,
yes,
I desire to have people behind me. I want to push doors open for those coming behind me to make a difference with patients newly diagnosed. Primarily, patients that are newly diagnosed have somewhat of a PTSD. They connected sometimes, and anxiety that runs so rampant, like how many times you eat a day runs rampant. Anxiety almost as high as high on the list, and yet we don't refer to a me until we've already passed that first amenable few months, and they're trying really hard, and then they kind of fall off a wagon and they don't know what to do, and they either in shame, not as much in shame, embrace diabetes now, but it used to be a little shameful. Even when I first wore a pump, I put it on a belt loop because it caused an added bulge under my shirt, and I put it on the belt loop. And I don't know if it surprises you or if you find this to be true, but I had someone say to me, "Why are you wearing that to show it?" As if I was doing it to seek attention. Now, who in the world would try attention seeking for that? But because I'm absolutely fine unless I have a low, and then I look kind of wonky, and in a little while I'm fine again, unless it's that people in my circles sometimes wondered if I was really sick, So the pump in itself is not the negative now that it used to be. And so I want to address the anxiety and the stress. And so my goal is to reverse anxiety that is attached to all of that. Do you, in your world, have you run into patients and their anxiety? And is any of that a part of why you do what you do?
Yeah, I think this is a really important topic. So 3 things to comment on this. The first is that actually my very first ever diabetes related work that I ever did was a pediatric research lab looking at fear of hypoglycemia with Dr. Kimberly Driscoll at Florida State. Big shout out to her. She's an amazing researcher. But that's really where I first learned about the diabetes in an academic sense. So although my main background is obviously in diabetes technology, I greatly appreciate this topic of anxiety related to diabetes. And also commenting on that, we were talking about things that kind of differ in regards to generations of people with diabetes. Something that I think a lot of people my age, my generation deal with today now are social anxiety or social media anxiety and feeling not confident having to wear, pumps or compare themselves. I know that I did, growing up on social media. So,
or having a low while we talk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, or having, any sort of social interaction interrupted by a beep or a notification. So, but, I think that everyone with diabetes may face that challenge of how do I overcome that anxiety. I know, it is very prevalent. And for me, I just don't care what people think, about me and my pump. Like I'm a runner, I run for JDRF for fundraising. And, I gladly wear my pump on my arm. And as a matter of fact, I point it out like to people when I'm running or in, marathons and races that I've been doing with JDRF. And, it's empowering to me at least to know that like, hey, like I got this. I'm in control of this. This isn't in control of me. And so I think having that mindset really just, again, reduces my anxiety or my fear of being judged. I just make sure that my diabetes stays under my control.
That's cool. What happened to me was oh Lord, I'd had diabetes for years. And I went into a restaurant and a woman with a little 8-year-old boy said, I will never take my son into a dirty bathroom to give him a shot. And I squared my shoulders and I said, oh, okay. And from there, I had this empowerment to not be having to hide it or be embarrassed by it or all of that. Nobody was talking about that, but she did. And I needed that. But also with the hypoglycemic, the fear that breeds stress. And when the emergency's over, the stress we're built to have, if it continues, then it builds to worry and prolonged worry unaddressed. All of that anxiety, I know how now, hopefully, to help people with that. I don't want to get to them after they've been diagnosed 6 months. I wish I could push the door open for people in my field, like you're doing, hopefully what I'm doing, to say to them earlier on, when these things happen, this is what you can do, and teach them ways to reverse it, kick it to the curb, break up with it, all those things. So I just appreciate what you do and how you do it. And I would love, love, love to know that doctor in, is it South Florida? I bet she's somebody I could follow and read, and she's probably got amazing things for all of us. Could you say her name one more time in case somebody wants to get and follow her?
Sure. Kimberly Driscoll. And she, I do believe, is now at the University of Florida. So there you go.
Okay.
But she started off, she was at Florida State for a little while. So I'll claim her there. But you know, she is one of the people that set the foundation for me and my passion for diabetes work. And she is an amazing clinical psychologist that focuses in on diabetes. So I highly encourage you to check out her publications and see just all of the amazing research that she's done.
Well, you have been an amazing resource of information, just an amazing young man that I know you're going to go far in your own career, but I believe with all my heart in that heightened place, you will pull people alongside you that we need and are so grateful for. That I'm just very privileged to know you today.
Well, Dr. Char, thank you so much. It really means a lot to hear that from someone who is a veteran of diabetes, not just with having it, but also working with it as, you know, employing diabetes, right? And for your passion. And I'm grateful for you to being a mentor to us and the younger generation, and ultimately also for impacting the world through the work that you're doing through your empathy. So thank you very much. And I'm very excited to keep working with people like you to make it better for everyone.
Let's do it. Let's do it together. Let's make a difference. It doesn't matter if you're just starting and I'm not ending, but I've been in it a while. I think it's so important. I find online Google University as being so much information I don't know what to do with. But what I do know is this availability to put my work online. I'm not going to sit by the wayside and say, I don't know how. And because I am reaching up to meet you, it's just at a different world. We're in a different place. You're not reaching up to me. Thank you for saying I'm a mentor, I'm a veteran, and I really hope that I've helped people and continue to. But you understand, don't you, that you're leading us now, and we are reaching up to you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes.
We got to do it again.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to stay in touch in every capacity. And, we're hopefully going to have some great news to share regarding the technology's development leading into the latter half of next year. So keep your eyes out for little old Diatech, and hopefully we can really provide some technology that can make it better for people with diabetes. So.
I will do that. And I believe in it already. Prayers for you. Good thoughts to you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.